guys, this is Ark, and this is my Dark World deck profile. I know there are a lot of Dark World deck profiles on YouTube, and a lot of them include like dangers, they include different iterations of Dark World. What I prefer running is a pure Dark World deck profile with just only Dark World cards for like almost entirely. And let's just get right on top of this really quickly with the main deck. Now, a lot of what you're going to see here is going to be run from a lot of other decks as well, because they're quite standard. If you're not running some of these cards here, you're doing something very, very wrong. So we start off with 3 Rainbow, standard, super standard. If you're not running 3, you're doing something wrong. 2 Graphas, same. 1 Lucent, 1 Silva, 3 Snow, 3 Genta. Again, all of these are standard. And then we have 3 Brow. Some people just do not run this card at all. I enjoy running it, and for reasons I will explain later. And then we have 2 Cerulees, which I also think are really, really vital for this deck. And this is the monster lineup, 18 monsters. You don't need anything else. Then you have 3 Allure of Darkness, 3 Gates to the Dark World, and 3 Dark World Dealings. These are the 3 ops, and then the 2 ops is Dark World Accession and Dark Corridor. And then the 1 ops is Card Destruction, Charge into a Dark World, Foolish Burial Goods, Triple Tactics Talent, Triple Tactics Thrust, Abstract Goblin, and Dark World Archives. And we're also running 2 trap cards, Dark World Brainwashing and Dark World Punishment. So now that we know the entire 40 card main deck, let's go over some cards and give some sort of explanation on why I run the cards I run and on the quantities I do. So 3 Rainbow is standard. If you're not running 3, you're doing something very, very wrong. This card is very busted, like not busted specifically, but it's something that the Dark World deck was missing before the structure deck. It's basically, can special summon itself from the graveyard, but if you discard it from your hand, you can add a level 5 or higher Dark World monster from your deck to your hand. So you can get your Grapha, you can get your Lucent or your Silva, and so it's like an extra card in your hand, and you can also have this as a body on the field. Really, really good. Triple Genta, I think this card is maybe the star of the new support for Dark World. Like you draw this card and you know that it's going to be a good duel. You basically dump this card, get your Gates of the Dark World, and then if you have Genta and Rainbow in your beginning 5 cards, or Genta and Snow, for example, and the opponent doesn't have any disruption, you know that you have probably won the duel already. Those 2 cards, like Genta and like Snow or Rainbow or whatever, those 2 cards are enough to help you establish basically an unbeatable board. So you have Genta, you need 3 of them because you need to be able to be drawing them as much as you can and as often as you can. And exactly because of that, you're also running triple Gates, and then you have triple Snow because it's your main searcher. You can search any Dark World card. And what I find myself doing with Snow most of the time is I'm not going to search like Grapha, I'm not going to search like Lucent or Silva. Most of the time with Snow, I'm searching my trap cards, and first of all, I'm searching for my archives. If I find myself not having Genta in my hand, with Snow, I will search Genta. With Genta, I will search Gates, and then with Gates, I will start off my combos. But again, as I said, most of the time with Snow, I first search archives, then I search brainwashing, then I search punishment. With Cerule, if I'm going first, Most of the time, I try to like hand rip my opponent, but if I do not have a lot of combo starting abilities, combo starting cards in my hands, then I might go for Ceruli Lucent. So with Lucent, I will bring an extra rainbow on the field from the deck, directly from the deck, and that is probably enough to help me get off my combos. And if I do, then I can probably bounce back the Ceruli at some point and go with Silva if I want to handle my opponent. The more you play this deck, the more you realize exactly what you need to discard and when and all that. I run triple Brow because I figure that Brow is the card that you want to discard the least. Like everything else is on a higher priority that you want to discard. Brow's discarding effect is like the worst of them all. So what I figured out is that Brow is a perfect target for Allure of Darkness to banish from your hand. So if you draw this card, if you draw Brow and you cannot, and you do not have Allure of Darkness on you, then you can just discard Brow and just get a new card from the deck, basically, and that's great. That's fine. So you basically lose nothing, right? But if you have Allure of Darkness and Brow, then this means that you basically draw 2 new cards, and this means that basically you go from a 40 card main deck to a 38 card main deck, and then you have Absurd Goblin, so you go to a 37. And if you do Allure of Darkness times 3, you go to like a 33. And this deck that's exactly what it wants to do. It wants you to get into your big board, which I will show later what it is, and it wants to run through the deck. So if I go first and get no disruptions, most of the time I'm able to run through the entire 40 card deck. So I'm basically like leaving 2 cards on my deck so I do not deck out, and I just run through the entirety of the deck and establish my basically unbeatable board. Regarding dealings, people seem to be a bit cold on dealings lately because, you know, it helps you, but it helps your opponent as well get rid of their, you know, useless cards and draw a new one. I still think dealings is a very strong card though, because as long as you do not get disrupted, then it doesn't matter what your opponent draws. You reach a point with your unbeatable board where you have like 7 or 8 negates, maybe even more. So it doesn't matter what your opponent draws, as long as you're able to establish your own board consistently, then it doesn't matter what your opponent has. So we have triple dealings. Dark Corridor is also a card that it was not necessary for Dark Worlds to be good, but ever since it was released, it made the deck, I don't know, be like the most consistent deck ever. I don't know. This card it's not insane, but it's like one of those things that you do not need, but you get it and you just never go back from that point. So it's once per turn, so you don't want to go 3 of them, but you also don't want to go for 1 because you want to be drawing this card as often as you can in your starting 5. So I think 2 is the perfect, and I think 2 corridors is the quantity that most people run anyway. I also have 1 charge into a Dark World because I find that this card can be extremely strong in certain situations, and people undervalue this card. People do not run this card, but with this consistency in this deck right now, I think charge into a Dark World can be extremely powerful, and that's why I ran it. One other card that people are just sleeping on is Fool's Burial Goods. I think this card is super broken. With this card, you dump your accession to the graveyard, and then you can get your accession back from your Fiend Monster from your hand. So basically, Foolish Burial Goods is like a Dark Corridor, but for your accession. That's what it is, basically. Card Destruction, self-explanatory. Absurd Goblin, self-explanatory. Archives, I think this card is super busted, but you do not need 2 or 3, just one is enough. You search this with Snow if you don't have it already, and this card can help you do 2 discards and draw 2 cards as well. So this card is super busted in my opinion. We also have the Triple Tactics Thrust and Talent. I think the Triple Tactics cards are the ones that I'm not really that sold on. I think that if you draw these cards, you can clog occasionally, but that's, a rare occasion. But if you would ask me if there is something you would change in this deck, like side something out, the Triple Tactics cards would be the first 2 that would leave the deck for something else. What else is here? The 2 trap cards. The 2 trap cards I think people are sleeping on. They're so overpowered. Punishment is kind of like a Solemn Warning, where you also discard a Fiend Monster, so it's just an extra layer of security, where you also discard a Fiend Monster so that you can potentially drop a Grapha and pop another card on your opponent's side of the field. Also, if it's in the graveyard and a Dark Gold monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Not an effect that you're going to be using a lot, but sometimes it might be helpful, so good to keep in mind. But the fact that this is a counter trap card, it's like a Solemn Warning, searchable by Snow, I think this card is really, really, really good. It doesn't clog your deck because it's just one-off, and Dark World Brainwashing, another card that people are just sleeping on. This card is insane. If you've never played this card, you will not understand how insane this card is. For those of you who play Brainwashing, you know exactly how powerful this card is, how broken this card is. This card is not on once per turn, so this card can negate, on average, I find out that this card can negate 3 monster effects every turn, and not only negate them, but change them into your opponent discards 1 card randomly. And the upside of this card is insane. This card can single-handedly win games, and I'm really surprised why people are not running it. And the good thing about this deck profile is that this card, like Brainwashing, Punishment, Tactics Talent, and Tactics Thrust, these cards are one-offs, and they are like those odd cards out, so to speak. These cards are only 5 of 6 out of the 40 card deck, right? So the probability of you drawing more than 2 of them is very, very low, right? So you're never going to be bricking in your initial 5 card hand, but since the trap cards especially are searchable through Snow, the upside you get far supersedes maybe the downside of drawing them in your initial 5 and maybe bricking. What I find about this deck is that you rarely ever brick with this deck. This deck is it's so fast, so consistent, you rarely ever brick. And if you do not get disrupted going first, you 99% of the time you're establishing an unbeatable board. The board that this deck can establish most of the times just cannot be beat. If you play this deck, you will understand what I mean. Now for the extra deck, 2 Fusion Graphers. Standard, you don't want 3 of course, but you don't just want one because the first one might get destroyed sometimes, so you just want to be having a second one. And then we have some rank 8s, starting off with number 15. I do not make this often, but there are situations where it can be useful if you want to get rid of like 2 of your rank 8s to the graveyard so that you can bounce them back again. Then we have like number 22, Zombie Stein, a big body, 4500 attack. Um, it can help you run over some big bodies occasionally. I don't make this guy often, but he can be really, really good in some situations and get you out of sticky situations. The 2 Hieratic Sky Dragons and Sun Dragon of Heliopolis. The Sky Dragon I do not make often, but the Sun Dragon I do find myself making a lot when I go second, because he can help you wipe out the opponent side of the board with one effect activation. It can be really, really good. And then of course we have the Coaching Giant Trainer. Going first, this card is freaking insane. You obviously know about this card. And we also have number 38, Hope Harbinger, because number 38 just negates spell effects, but you don't have, apart from like the Fusion Grapha, you don't have any way to negate spell effects. You have Brainwashing for monster effects, you have Appaloosa for monster effects, but you don't have anything for spell cards. So number 38 can be really, really good in that sense. Negating trap cards is not really important because nobody really runs trap cards, and even if they do, they need to set them first and then activate them, so you don't really care about them. And then for the link monsters, we have 5 link 2s. We're starting off with Cross Ship. I do not really make this a lot. I do not find any use for this really. Like I could even like cut this off and not care. I also have We Witch's Apprentice. I also do not really run this often, but sometimes I find myself having a board like Silva, Grapha, and Rainbow, and I want to bounce Silva back to my hand, but I can't because there is nothing in my graveyard. So what I do is I send Rainbow and Grapha to the graveyard to make this guy here, or this girl, and they go to the graveyard so I can bounce back my Silva. It's not like anything special, it's just there, just for this. With this, you can also just make Muckracker from the Underworld, which I find it's a really strong card. But you want to use Muckracker's effect towards the end of your turn, because once you use it, you cannot special summon it, or you cannot summon any other monster except Fiend monsters. So Muckracker is also really good. You also, of course, run Akashic Magician and Security Dragon. They are both helping you bounce the Ceruli from the opponent's side of the field back to your hand. And this is the Link 2 lineup. And then we're also having the 2 Link 4s, Appaloosa and Saryuja. I find out that I make Appaloosa like 99% of the time. Saryuja I'm just never really making. I do not find a use for this. Like, think about this. You need like 4 monsters, like at least 2 with different names to make this guy, but in reality you need 4 so that you can get its full effect, right? So if you ever reach a point where you have 4 monsters on your field, it probably means that you are probably so far ahead in the duel that you can establish an unbeatable board, and why would you go for this guy when you go for Appaloosa, right? So this is my extra deck. Sometimes Saryuja might be useful, but as I said, I figured out that most of the time he's not. So some other tech cards that I'm trying to test, or like some tech quantities that I'm trying to test, is an extra Grapha, but most of the time it's not needed. Diabolica is also not needed. Again, as I said, I tried using this card extensively. It was good on occasion, but overall, like, I cut this out of the deck and I never even noticed it was gone. If anything, it made the deck be even smoother. Then we have Lickmail Archfiend, not necessary, but just a fun card. Same for Proxy F Magician, another fun card. A lot of people enjoy running Zelantis. Personally, I haven't tested this card yet, but I do not really see the point of running this card. I really do not see the point of running this card. Like, I already have my Akashic Magician and Security Dragon to bounce off my Cerulean, so why would I need this card? I don't need this card. Then the third, Dark Corridor, but probably never going to go for this. Another Fool's Burial Goods, but again, I'm probably never going to go for this. Accession, the third one. I think 2 is the perfect quantity. You don't need any more. And Puppetry is maybe the only card that I would place in the deck instead of like the Triple Tactics, Thrust, or Talent. Basically, it removes up to 3 cards from either graveyard, banishes them. So not just monsters, but any cards, and then you discard 1 fiend monster, and then also during your main phase, except the 10 discard was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and then basically get one of your banished fiend monsters back to your hand. So this card can be super good, especially going second, and especially against specific matchups. So if I was ever to like go second and side this card in, I would take out Thrust first or Talent and get this one in. So this is my my deck profile. If you want more side cards, you can go for like the Ash Blossoms, or like the Infinite Impermanence, or what else is it, like Nibiru's, the Called by the Grave, maybe, like these staple hand traps and all that. You can go for those, but you don't, like, if you go first, you don't really need any of them. If you're going second and your opponent doesn't have a lot of negates on their board, then you can also just run over them as well. If they have a lot of negates, you can maybe occasionally have like Dark Ruler no more, or things like that, and maybe or just run over their protection. So this is the Dark World deck profile. Again, as I said, is a pure Dark World deck profile. No dangers, no nothing else. And in another video, I'm just gonna go over some combos, some test hands, and some duels, and so that I can show how smooth this deck is and how powerful and unbeatable the boards that can be established in this deck can be. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.